Learning a block tomorrow. Apologies for starting a little bit late. Today's Daf Gimel Tammuz is Daf Yud Daled. We started the sugya of Gudei Agud or Goydei Agoid, and then we got into the sugya of Sifrei Torah, if you're allowed to divide it, and how it should be written. So we're continuing on the theme of the Sefer Torah. So we're up to the Gemara over here. Tanur Rabbanan. Sorry, about 10 lines at the top of the page. A nice in Sefer Torah. When you make the Sefer Torah, you shouldn't make it like Arka Yoser al Hakefai, but Hakefai Yoser al Arka. We have a thing called Zek Keli Van Veil. You have to make a Sefer Torah beautiful. So therefore, you have to work out that the length of the height of the Sefer Torah shouldn't be greater than the circumference of a Sefer Torah, or the circumference shouldn't be greater than the length. And the Gemara says, Sholu as Rebbe, should ask Rebbe exactly. In other words, you have to make the size of the lettering and the size of the cloth and everything else. That when you finish a Sefer Torah and you take a string and you go around the circumference, it should be the same. So as we'll see, if it's 6 tvachim is the height of a Torah, then the circumference of Sefer Torah should be as well the same.
Circumference as well. So right around the whole.
Exactly, yeah. If you take a little string and you went around it, it'll be the same. So what is it? Amal big veal shisha. He right away nominates Gvil. Remember, we've been in the section of Gvil regarding stones. Gvil means when it's totally unpolished, uncut. Gvil is the entire hide of the animal, and you just remove the hair. So it's much thicker. So you have Gvil, and you have Klaf, and you have the Duchsus. Gvil is the entire skin. Klaf is when you cut the skin in half, and you write on the part of the skin facing the animal. And Duchsus is the bottom half of that skin, but you're writing on the part facing away from the animal. Facing up. That's the Susa. So Sefer Torah cannot be written on Susa, but it could be written on Gvil and Klaf. So the Gvil Shisha. He nominated Gvil because they say that was Moshe Rabbeinu's Sefer Torah was made out of Gvil. But Klaf Bekama, so they asked him Beklaf, well, how tall can it be? He said, Rav Huna Kosav Shivin Sifrei Derai. So Rav Huna wrote 70 Sifrei Torah, which is a mammoth task. He only found one Sefer Torah that he actually met this criteria. So it's not an easy thing to do. Yaakov just wrote one on the skin of a calf, the Israel, and he got it right. Rabban gave a look, according to negation, they were jealous. That Abunu, they took 70, and only they do one, and this guy straight away was Rabbacha by Yaakov, they do it straight away. So he passed away. We should think we don't live in time of right. I mean, how many people passed away because somebody else was upset? So anyway, we're jealous. Ami wrote 400 Sifrei Torah, which sounds like impossible. So they said, maybe exaggerating, maybe Dilma Torah Tziva Lana Moshe, maybe he wrote Torah Tziva Lana Moshe. And he wrote that 400 times, which means they had different Sifrei Torah, and when it came to that pasuk, they let him write it. So he wrote it. And then Rashi takes it both say, why there's pasuk, because this pasuk is talking about Torah. When your child is 3 years old, this is what you teach your child to say. So therefore, this encapsulates the idea of Torah. But the Pashup Pshat is that if you write one letter, it's as if you as if you wrote the whole Sefer Torah. So therefore, any letter is as if he wrote the entire Sefer Torah, which is the Takad Rashba says that exactly. Except he didn't say letter, he says a pasuk, but any pasuk. I'm not sure why you need pasuk, even one letter, because the Torah without a letter is possible, and you wrote it, and you wrote it as if you wrote all the Sefer Torah. But talking about these exaggerations, the Gemara says another thing happened. They said to him also, not that Rabbi planted Alba Me'akami, he planted 400 vineyards. Maybe you mean the minimum size of vineyard, which we learned was Dilma Stein Kenegestein, two vines and then 2 vines in front of that, but Achaz Yetzis on it, one in the middle, sticking out, which is like a tail. And we call that's a minimum size of a vineyard. Talking about having separate site, you go back home, if you plant a vineyard, that's the minimum that you have to plant. Maybe that's a question. We'll ask a question on this what the Rebbe said, that the hekif has to be equal to the eirich. We have a problem. It's a very long winded brayse. It goes as follows. Basically, remember we have a machlek the mayor when it comes to the kelim in the base of Migdash. The amma is 6 tvachim or 5 tvachim. And the tefach is made up of 4 thumbs, 5 index fingers, or 6 pinkies, depending what we're talking about when we say. So bearing that in mind, the Gemara now is going to calculate every single inch in that oren what occupied that space. And may say oren shas Moshe, the oren Moshe it says in Torah amos layim v'chetzi 2.5 amos long, which if you learn in Sivk Tvachim means 15 fucking long. Lama v'chetzi rachvoi, that's 9 fucking wide. Lama v'chetzi was a 9 fucking high. Bava Basra Daf, according to Meir, each amma was 6 tvachim. The haluchas, in the luchas themselves, Orkan Shisha v'Rachma Shisha, they were square, 6 by 6. There were 2 luchas. The obvious shleisha, there were 3 thick. Munachat Keneged Orkan Shalonis. They were side by side. The width of the luchas was side by side with the arm. So how much room do they take up? If there's 6 and 6 and 12 tvachim, so what do you do to the remaining 3 tvachim? But we don't want any space not being populated. Take out 1 tefach. Half a tefach is for 1 wall, because these measurements are from the outside, and the and half for the other wall. So that's another tefach. That leaves you a space, a gap of 2 tvachim. That's when Moshe Rabbeinu's Sefer Torah was placed. Why they had a Sefer Torah there? When did they ever use it? So according to Rashi, that's the Sefer Torah the Melech used to use to read, or that's where the Kohen Gadol used to take out on Yom Kippur. According to Tosfos, they just sat there, and they would go in from time to time to repair it, just like you repair the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It says a double negative. The Aron didn't have but. And but tells you comes to include what? Sefer Torah. According to Rameir, the Sefer Torah was inside the Aron. So we basically explained what occupied the space in Aron length. Say you partners Aron l'rachva. What about the width of the Aron? 9 tvachim wide. So again, the luchas took up 6 tvachim. There's a gap of this space of 3 tvachim. Same tefach. 1 tefach we take out of the walls. What's left? 2 tvachim. And what's the idea of 2 tvachim? Why leave a gap of 2 tvachim? Because where the Sefer Torah was at the end of the Aron, if you wanted to take it out, you had to be able to put your hands in. So you had a tefach on each side, but put your hands in and to remove the Sefer Torah. We don't want to go in and out when it was dachel. It's clear they use the Sefer Torah, but connotation is merely for repairs. And others say if they use this to check other Sefer Torah to make sure that it's correct. Now Yehuda says no. I believe I believe that every hour, not that the Aron itself was 6 tvachim, but the luchas themselves was 6 tvachim, but the Aron, the Kalim Beis Hamikdash, was made up of 5 tvachim amos. So therefore, 2.5 amos really is only 12.5 tvachim. The Gemara Baluchas Orkan Shisha v'Rachma. That I agree with you. Obviously, Munachas Ba'Orkan shall underline the length on that part. I agree. So Kam Baluchas was Ba'Oran Shnei was 12 tvachim out 12.5. The Yishtai Sham Chatzi Tefach. Oh, you have left half a tefach. So the walls made up together half a tefach. Edzbel Kaiser Zev, Edzbel Kaiser Zev. So the thumb on this side and the thumb on this side, which is a half a tefach together, because 4 thumbs is a tefach. Pinas on Orka. You explained the Oran the length. Say Panas on the Rachva. What about the width? Right, with 7.5 tvachim. Again, 6 out of the 7.5 are taken up there. The shtayis of tefach left over. Say men chatzi tefach, take out a half a tefach, and here either we use the same gifts, etzba, or we're talking about the index etzba machzor kaiser, etzba machzor kaiser. Index at 5, so it's 2.5 fingers, 2.5 fingers, which makes which 1.5 which makes half of tefach. What it goes. Sorry, we're talking about the pinky. The pinky is 6 fingers is a tefach, so 3 is only half a tefach remaining. 12 was of the luchas. These are half a tefach, so half of that and half of that. So therefore, total of the two walls makes up a half a tefach. If you got the pinky, a total of 3 pinkies, 1.5 etba, 1.5 etba. Vishtayisham tefach, the remains of tefach. Shaboy amudin noidim. They didn't have room for the Sefer Torah there, but the amudin of the Sefer Torah there, and this is very puzzling. As the Rashba says, it's very puzzling that the Sefer Torah was by Rabbi Yehuda outside of the Aron, but the Amudim were inside the Aron. The Amudim were more chashuv than the Sefer Torah. Some want to say that when those collect tzedakah, they say that the Tomchei Deraisa have a bigger mitzvah than the people who support institutions of learning Torah are greater than the people who actually learn the Torah. So therefore, that the Amudim that hold the Sefer Torah together was inside the Aron, and the Sefer Torah itself was outside the Aron. So now it says, It says in Pasuk, Aparian Asalai, that they made him a chair. Hamelech Shleima, the king of that was Shleima, or Shleima means B'Shalom. Matter made out of wood. Amud of the xylem, the sticks was also Kesa, was made out of silver. And if you look at the back, it's of gold. And Merkava Agam is all a marshal. Merkava Agam, the rider was made out of purple. Well, that's the mechitza between the Kodesh Kodashim and the Kodesh. But Argish Shibra the Plishtim who stole the autumn later that had so many tzaras that they sent it back with a whole box full of gold. Is died on the case, or they sent back a box full of gold for Shuvah, for Kapara. Munat Matida is lying right next to the autumn. What chus they have that should be, but their present is lying right next to the autumn. And in there, that's where the Sefer Torah. Whenever it says that's Klei Azav that this Klei Azav that they sent back as a guilt offering to see Muba Argis Mitzida. You should place it right next to the autumn. Vishalach the Ma'aseh v'Halach. That's where the Sefer Torah was, on this argues of the Plishtim. Shenemar says, "L'koyach Sefer Torah v'sam t'moshe mitzad Orah B'Shem," on the side of the Orah. Mitzad among limitations. The beauty of the Sefer Torah was not inside out; it's only for it. This is what Rebbe talks about. That he doesn't understand the whole world, how they have a picture of the Orah where it's rounded on top. When you see the Gemara right here, how they're trying to explain every single finger. There's not a drop of empty space there. There was a little bit of empty space. I have to explain why it was there, and definitely wasn't circular on top. What do I say? Ain ba'orer rak. What does it do with this double negative? The rabbis to include shivrei luchas. He holds that the broken part of the luchas. What did they do with the broken luchas? Moshe Rabbeinu smothered in teams, shem into smithereens, shemanochi bottom. But they're placed in the autumn underneath the luchas. Now we're leading to our question. Esau Gadata, remember, according to the maid, the Sefer Torah was inside, it was only 2 tvachim. But you're telling me Esau, they were told, which is clear from the Gemara here that the Gemara believed that Sefer Torah was made out of gvil and therefore was 6 tvachim. Because the Gemara could have just said the Sefer Torah they made out of them was klaf, much thinner, and therefore it was only 5 tvachim or 4 tvachim. But the Gemara wants know that the Sefer Torah Moshe Rabbeinu wrote, they used the gvil. The entire skin, so which the Rebbe said before clearly is 6 tvachim. So if it's 6 tvachim, if the hekeifa is 12 tvachim, so the length is 6 tvachim and the circumference is 6 tvachim, what's the diameter? 2. We know that the pi, which is a little bit hard to understand because pi is actually a bit more than, it's 3.141, all those numbers there. So, but the mother is assuming it's exactly 3. But it needs an explanation. Since the Sefer Torah 2 amudim, so you go to the middle. There's a little bit of a gap between the 2 rows. So each row was 3 tvachim. Together with a circumference, you do round 6 tvachim, but 6 and a bit, because you have that little gap. So the diameter will be a little bit more than 2 tvachim. More than the space between the 2 amudim. So how can that fit into 2 tvachim? Rabbi Yaakov said, the very Rabbi Yaakov, that was obviously a big sefer, and that's why he was such an expert in writing, and that's why unfortunately he was Yobe and Ayu Chacham. Sefer Azora Litchi Loser Nigel. They only had the sefer and Azora because they didn't use it on a regular basis. Only had one amud, and therefore it makes sense. Now the only thing is, by the way, I told you yesterday, the big machlek is showing him. Rashi has our girsa litchi loser nigel. That means that you start from the end, like Tesis and others learn. You start from the end and you roll up. Rashi learns you start from the beginning, but Rashi they roll up. So Rashi, therefore, it's interesting how Rashi changes it. He doesn't change the girsa. Rashi litchi loser. It says Rashi mitchi loser from the beginning. Now, does Rashi mean he had a different girsa? Not sure. How can you fit exactly 2 tvachim and 2 tvachim spaces? It's impossible to take it in and out. What they did was they didn't roll the entire Sefer Torah on this one amud. First they rolled a few parshas, and then they rolled it up, and then they rolled the rest on this amud, and those few parshas they rolled up, they put above. So therefore it was less than you didn't roll the entire Sefer Torah on the amud. Yeah, and this is they did that specifically, deliberately, in order to fit it in. And then they rolled up and they put it there on top. So, Rabbi Yehuda, Mekam made the list. According to made the was always the other. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it was only the time of Plishtim that they put on in. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, the big machlek is showing him whether Sefer Torah we say that the circumference is 3. The circumference should equal the Urka. Does that include the Amudim in the Sefer Torah? That's minus Amud. But the Gemara here, it seems that it has to be with the Amudim. Otherwise, again, it'll be the same question. But with Amud, with the Amud, even though there's only one Amud, it's very more than the two Tvachim that you said. And the other Rishonim hold no, that this ratio is without the Amudim. Rabbi Yehuda Mekam argues with hey Chavias was what he says. Dafa have enough in it. It was a board sticking out of the arm because it says mitzat has to be on the side. So the board sticking out of the arm, which later they got rid of. The Yosef listen to that's what it said. But Meir and Haim said, "Oh my! What I may do with the pasuk that's clearly was on the side of the arm. Ahum boile the mostach le mitzat within the arm. Where was it? You would have thought that maybe we should divide the luchas with a sefer Torah in between. So he says, no, it's on the side. Why would you have thought to divide in between? Because on the one side of the luchas is the mitzvah ben adam lechaveri, the other side ben adam lamakum, and because the two sides of the luchas have like different parts of the Torah, maybe we should have the Torah right in between, and that the Torah might be the bridge that says that it's all one inyan. Always inside, but inside. But I may have a kaima, but I may where did he put Amud? Probably on the outside. So I may the Torah was inside, makes sense, and the Amud on the outside. But I may she was looking at the and I may these are special silver Amudim. But I may what exactly the role of these Amudim were? We're saying that the Sefer Torah was rolled around in Amud, so it's not the same thing. These Amudim had another purpose. Others say it was there to support the Orden. Others say they don't know what's exactly the role of these Amudim, other than maybe being symbolic of something. But Amudim have a kind of outside. Meir, she looking at the how does she know the broken part of the still not? Not going to be Amudim. Might have said it says the pasuk Shanikra shame. It says the pasuk that he called the shame twice. It says shame twice. Yes, Melamed shaluch. What's a shame? Luchas and the shir luchas. Menachem overall sila. And what am I going to do that? Ahum the boy like Rabbi Yechon. He needs to Rabbi Yechon. I'm going to call Melamed Hashem. The whole kinui of Menachem Hashem and all the different names, all the kinuim are found in the other. Remember, the certain Shem of Freilich only did based on English. And one of the Shem says I saw it says there are 70 names that were in there. Vidach the 70 different versions of the name. Vidach Nami, the other one. What does he do with the pasuk Shem? The Bail he needs it for this reason. How can I say he uses that for the Shivra Luchas? He needs to know all the Shemus were inside the Aron. Yinachanami, El Shivra Luchas, the house of the broken Luchas in the Aron. Now can we turn Rabbi Yosef? Rabbi Yosef already said, it says in the pasuk that Moshe Rabbeinu said that I'll write down the Luchas, Asher Shibarta v'samtim Baron. So we take the word Shibarta and the next word v'samtim, put them together as if the broken Luchas also put that in the Aron. They're both parts of the Vida, Rabbi Yehuda, what does he do with that pasuk? Good on you that you broke it, so this is probably what's chusadin, so they shouldn't, the Sultan shouldn't use that against the Eden. So first of all, you see from me that not everyone agrees to the drasha of Rish Lakish. According to the mayor, definitely no such drasha. But the mayor uses the drasha Asher Shibarta v'samtim. That's how he knows that the broken luchas are inside the Aron. It's only according to Rabbi Yehuda that we follow, that we have the drasha of Asher Shibarta. Tell me, learn. Sidon Shari, the order of the Yeshua, then Shaitim, followed by Shmuel, then Malachim, then Yimei, then Yecheskel. Shai is the Ched Torah out of place because Shai lived way before Yimei Yecheskel. We'll see later. Mishnei Moshe, the 12 short Nevi'im. Mechdi Hosheya caught him in the 12 Nevi'im. Hosheya is very lived way earlier than the time of Hosheya. The Chsiv Tchilas Hashem Hosheya that the first words from all the Nevi'im was Hosheya. What do you mean the first words? If you ever learn Hosheya, it's a modner Nevi'im. They just told him to marry Zaina, and it's a fascinating novel. They just spoke to Hosheya. He was the first Navi. Well, Moshe was the first Navi. The four Nevi'im lived at the same time, and he was the first one. Left that time. So the Hosheya, Hosheya should have been first. We say Kim the Chsidim was Malachi. Since the Nevi is written in the book of Tzayasa by Chagil Malachi, the Chagil Malachi says me how they were then. He's with them. With the Kadmei. So don't put it together with the 12 Nevi'im. Put it separate. Make a separate sefer called Hosheya, and it'll be first. I did a Zutta because it's so small. Mechas can get lost. That's why Tzayasa are all very short Nevi'im. Mechdi Yeshaya Kodim Yimi Yeshaya lived before Yimi Cheskel. The Kadmei Yeshaya Bereisha. Why is Yeshaya in Tanakh first? So we say keeping the Malachim Seifei Churbanah. In Malachim talks at the end about the Churban Hamikdash, and Yimi is Kula Churbanah. Yimi primarily, not all, but primarily it's all about the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Yecheskel is Reisha Churban. Yecheskel starts out the Churban, but it ends up with all kinds of positive things about the future. The Yeshaya Kulu Chumos. Yeshaya mainly, I mean, not always, but mainly it's all about the Chumos. We decide the subject matter is more important than the actual person who said it. But these are all the words of the Eish and this. So therefore, Churban the Churban, and the Chmos and the Chmos, and therefore Yeshaya is last. Sidon Sheksuvim, what's the say of Ksuvim? Rus, then Tehillim, then Eve, and the whole discussion tomorrow will be who was Eve. Mishlei and Kehelis Reshim was said by Shlomo HaMelech, who actually wrote it. It wasn't Shlomo who wrote it. And Kinnis, that's Eicha, Daniel, Megillas Esther, Ezra and Nehemiah, and Divrei HaYamim. That's all Ksuvim. Divrei HaYamim is part of Ksuvim. The one who said that he was written in the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, so how come Eve isn't first? Eve should be before us. As Eve primarily is all about all the tzaddis that he had, and the three friends who kept on arguing with him, telling him that he deserved it maybe, and then stopped complaining to Abish and whinging. And so therefore they didn't want to have such a thing to be the opening salvo on children. The thing about Ruth Nami Purani, Ruth also starts with a famine and she lost her husband. Purani is the Isla Achis. It starts off, in a sad way, but it ends up very positive. Especially that this is the progenitor of David HaMelech. Why is it called Ruth? The name Ruth comes from Meriva, from satisfying that her great grandson David HaMelech was the one who wrote Tehillim that satisfied Eibishter. It says in some sefer that Ruth, not here, but it says some sefer already in Solution of Shas, that Ruth is Gematria 606. And every ger has 7 mitzvahs b'nei, and if they add on to become a yid, is 606 mitzvahs, and that's why she was called Ruth, because that's what she's for the is there that we describe in detail. So that's why she was called Ruth. And in fact, Yisro is exactly the same thing. Yisro is the same name as Ruth, but he also has Yud because he was there by a set of Sadivus, according to one opinion. So therefore, he became Yisro, or he added a pasha to it. So the Gemara Umi Kosav, who wrote the different things? Moshe Kosav Sifra, Moshe wrote the Torah, Parshas Bilam. He also wrote Parshas Bilam, and some say there's much more to the Bilam story than what we have in the Torah. Eve wrote, and Eve, if Eve lived in the times of Moshe Rabbeinu. I mean, this Bryce definitely holds that Eve lived in the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, and maybe the Meraglim, he's the person that died, we'll see, and therefore Moshe wrote it. Yehoshua Kosav wrote his own sefer, Yeshua, and Shmoyne Psukim Shebet the last 8 Psukim in the Torah where it starts off by Moshe passed away. Obviously, he didn't write, but Moshe Yeshua wrote it, according to this Brisa. Shmuel Kosav Sefer, Shmuel wrote his Sefer, and Sheftim. Shmuel wrote Sheftim, and he wrote the Rus. David Kosav Sefer Tehillim wrote Tehillim, Aidei Asaras Kenim, and he mentioned the 10 different Kenim who said things, and he recorded them. Aidei Adam Rishon, Aidei Malki Tzedek, Aidei Avram, Aidei Moshe, Aidei Haman Zachariah, Aidei Dusan, Aidei Osam, Mizal Osaf, Aidei Shloisha B'nei Keirach, and the 3 children of Keirach B'nei Keirach. Yirmiyah Kosav Sifrei. Yirmiyah wrote his own Sefer Yirmiyah. V'Sefer Melachim. He also wrote Sefer Melachim. V'Kinas Anecha. Chizkiah V'Sayata. Chizkiah and his supporters and advisors. Kosav, they wrote Yeshaya. And Traces already says it couldn't be that Chizkiah wrote Yeshaya, because Yeshaya was killed by Chizkiah's son Menashe, and Menashe would not have been a king unless Chizkiah already passed away. So Chizkiah would not have written Shaya while Shaya was still alive. So it means Chizkiah's Chevre, his Chevre. He wrote Shaya. Traces interesting says here that Menashe was a grandson of Chizkiah. If some people want to edit and Traces, that's what Traces says. Because he said that Nevi'im in general didn't write the Sfarim until right before they passed away. But Shaya couldn't write a sefer because he was killed, so he didn't know that he was going to pass away. Mishlei and Shirashim Kalad 3 Sfarim Moshe Melech and Knesset Hagdolah Kosav. Yunus Melech said that they are the ones who wrote it. Rashi says over here that he thinks that Shirashim was written by Shlomo when he was an old man, not when he was young. Yecheskel Shneimosat and Yeshaya. Kosu Yeshaya Mishlei. Sorry, Cheskel Kosu Yeshaya Mishlei Shashim Bekelis. Anshik Nezadola Kosu not. So Cheskel who wrote all that. Cheskel Melech. Anshik Nezadola Kosu they wrote Yecheskel. They wrote Yecheskel and Shneim also Daniel Umegillas Esther. Mordechai was part of Anshik Nezadola. Ezra Kosov Sifra, Ezra wrote his Sefer Nehemiah, and V'yach Shadir Yom Adloy. Dir Yom he wrote until it came to him. So, the Niluchim Beis Medrash. B'Sayele Rab helps Rab the Omar Rab Yudah Rab Loy Ola Ezra Kovel Achiyichas Atzma V'Ola. First Ezra wrote down Dir Yom to the thing, and then he went up. Manaske, who concluded the rest of Ezra, and Nehemiah Ben Chakalia. We think tomorrow.